This class is brought to you by the LA Care and Blue Shield Promise Community Resource Centers. The centers are a place to help you be active, healthy, and informed. We hope you enjoy this virtual class.
Hello, my name is Sonia Guzman. Today we are going to be making a salad that is known as a Three Sister Salad. And while we make our salad, we're also going to be talking about protein, particularly what it is, how it helps our body, and where we can actually find it in our different foods that we eat throughout the day. So let's go ahead and start by talking about the ingredients that are going to go into our salad. First here we have cilantro, and then over here we have celery, red bell pepper, zucchini, and a jalapeno. And then over here we have corn, so this is yellow corn. We're going to use the juice of 1 lime, and then we're also going to add beans. Now these here are kidney beans, and they are actually canned. And so what I did is a couple of things. I went ahead first and opened the can of kidney beans and drained them, and also rinse them. And so that helps to remove some of the sodium that is sometimes added to the beans. This one, for example, does say that it has sea salt, so it removes some of the sodium. And then also I made sure to get beans that were organic and that had non-BPA lining. And so the non-BPA lining, that refers to the can. BPA has been linked to reproductive health issues, particularly in females. And so I made sure to get the canned beans that indicated non-BPA lining, okay? Now, as I mentioned, we are gonna be using kidney beans, okay? But this salad, you can actually use whichever kind of beans you'd like. The beans, this is only 15 ounces. The corn is just a cup, and then the vegetables, 1 small zucchini, 1 red bell pepper, and then 1 celery stalk, and 1 jalapeno. And obviously with the vegetables, you can add as much as you want, but these are the amounts that the recipe indicates. Now at the end of this presentation, you will not only get the recipe, but you will also get the instructions. So don't worry right now about amounts. Just know that at the end you will have the recipe, and then you can go ahead and just take a picture of it and then have that as your reference, okay? So let's go ahead and start making our salad. And while we make our salad, let's discuss protein, okay? There's a lot of information out there in regards to protein, particularly because a lot of people nowadays are following diets that are higher in protein, lower in carbohydrates. And so it's important, right, that we understand the function of protein. What does protein do in our bodies? And also, where can we find good sources of protein, right? What foods give us protein? What is considered healthy? What might not be so healthy? So we're going to talk about all of those things today, okay? All right, so first let's go ahead and start by cutting our vegetables. This is a very easy salad to make, as you can tell. It's really just chopping all the vegetables and then putting everything together. Now, before we start making our salad, just real quick, I did mention the beans were canned. You can go ahead and prepare your beans, if you want to use dry beans, you can do that. I just went ahead and used the canned beans. As long as I make sure that the canned beans are as healthy as possible, right? The BPA lining, the salt content, then it's okay to use the canned version, right? But if you, for whatever reason, don't want to use anything canned, then you can certainly get the dry beans, soak them overnight, boil in the morning, and then you're gonna have your freshly cooked beans. Okay, so now let's go ahead and start chopping our vegetables. And so protein, let's talk about that. So why is protein important in our health, right? What does it do in our bodies? Well, protein is important to our health because protein is really the main building block of all of our cells. And so protein is used to make muscles. Protein is also used to make tendons, organs, the skin, enzymes, hormones, nails, right? Everything is created from protein. So protein is really important to our health. It's the main building block, right, in our bodies. Now, it's important for us to make sure that we obtain protein from healthy sources, right? Protein, the way that our body creates the different proteins, it takes different amino acids, and with those amino acids, it creates different chains Each chain is then considered a protein. Then there are amino acids that we need to get through our diet, okay? And so the amino acids that we need to get through our diet are those that are called essential, okay? Essential amino acids. So when we talk about proteins and we talk about, food sources, what we're looking for is those essential amino acids so that our body can then create the proteins that it needs. Besides being the main building blocks in our bodies, proteins also have other functions. For example, they help reduce our appetite, okay? They help reduce appetite when we eat anything that has protein in it. It helps us feel full. And so in that way, it reduces our appetite, and by reducing our appetite, it can help some people lose weight, right? At the same time, protein also helps to improve our metabolism, and so that's another way that it also helps people lose weight, because if it makes people feel fuller, then they're going to eat less, and if it increases their metabolism, then they are going to burn more calories. Remember that the two factors that affect our weight are what we eat and what we burn, right? Calories in, calories out. So protein creates that ideal deficiency, right? In the body, in the sense of calories. So we eat less calories, we burn more calories, that's going to help us lose weight. And so protein also helps to build and retain more muscle mass. And more muscle mass, what essentially it translates to, is more calorie burning around the clock, right? The more muscle mass that we have, the more calories that we are going to burn, and so protein is going to help us do that. Okay, I went ahead and I chopped my jalapeno, and what I did over here is I actually removed the seeds, and that's because I don't want my salad to be too spicy. I just wanted to have the flavor of the jalapeno. If you want your salad to have a little kick, right, be a little bit spicy, you can go ahead and leave the seeds, and that's gonna give it that spiciness, right, that kick. Okay, so again, real quick, just deviating a little bit from the conversation on protein, let me just tell you real quickly, the Three Sister salad, okay? Where does the Three Sister name come from? So basically, what it is that the Three Sister salad, as you see, it's got zucchini, and then it has the corn, and it has beans. And so what the story is right behind the Three Sister salad is that Native Americans would actually plant these three together because they help each other grow. So it's like three sisters because they all help each other. And so that's the Three Sister salad. Now there's a lot of varieties of this salad out there, and you can certainly add a lot of other ingredients as well. For example, you could add like onion, you could add different kinds of beans, not just one kind, or you could just use a whole different kind of bean, right? But the kidney beans, they tend to be pretty good. They have a good texture to them, so for this salad, I think it's ideal. But again, you can do whatever you want with this salad, right? You can add garbanzos, you can add red onion, You could add white onion, whatever other flavors you'd like, you can add to your salad. Okay, so real quickly, let me just move the cilantro over to the other vegetables so I can use this bowl here for my trash. Okay, now let's go ahead and talk about zucchini, okay, the zucchini here. And this is another really important food that we're going to be adding to our salad. It has a lot of nutrients, it has a lot of vitamins, it has what are known as antioxidants, right? Antioxidants are those substances that protect our bodies from things that are out in the environment, right? It keeps those things from oxidizing our cells, getting into our bodies and oxidizing our cells, starting to cause damage. Zucchini can also help those people with diabetes, right? It can help them with controlling their blood sugar, and that's because of the fiber. As we know, vegetables and fruits, they have a lot of fiber. And so fiber, what it does is that it helps with transporting sugar, right? The sugars that we eat into the body. It slows down their digestive process so that they don't get into the body and spike or cause a sudden spike in sugar levels. Okay, and so this is again another great ingredient to add to the salad. It can also help with heart health, and it can also help to reduce inflammation. And the nice thing about this vegetable is that we can eat it like this, right? We can eat it raw, or we can actually cook it in many different ways and enjoy it that way as well. Now, if we want to eat more of the fiber that's in the vegetables, then what we do is exactly as we did. We left the skin on it, right? We don't peel it. We eat it just the way that it is. Okay, the next thing that I'm going to chop is my cilantro. And cilantro really just gives food a really good flavor. This is one of those that's either love or hate, right? Some people really like it, and some people just don't like it at all. But I think it adds a really good flavor to food. It doesn't really need a lot. This is one that is going to be your choice, right? Whether you want to put a lot or a little. This is also a very versatile herb because it can be used in a lot of different kinds of foods. For example, I think we know it a lot, right? We use it a lot in the Hispanic culture. We use it a lot for like tacos and to flavor different kinds of soups, things like that. But it's good for us, it's good for our health, and it's going to give our salad really good flavor. Because remember, as I've always said, you want to just make your foods with lots of different layers of flavor. The more layers that you add, the better that your food is going to taste. Especially when you can find those flavors that go well together, it really just does take food to another level. Okay, the next ingredient here is the red bell pepper. Now, the peppers, they also have a lot of antioxidants, right? A lot of vitamin C. And actually with vegetables, the darker the color, like for example this one, the red bell pepper, the more antioxidants that's going to provide, right? Because the colors is really what protects the vegetables as well. We've talked about this during other classes. And so the darker the color, the more nutrients that it has. For example, we're going to be using yellow corn in our salad today. But if we wanted to use corn that had more nutrients, right, more antioxidants, then we could use the blue corn, and that one would actually have more nutrients than the yellow because the color. Now I'm just giving the vegetables kind of like a rough chop. I'm not making them, I'm not cutting them right too thin or anything like that. You could if you wanted to, but this is fine. It's a salad, so it can be a rough chop. Okay, it doesn't have to be really fine. All right, so protein. Let's go back to protein. Now, how much protein does the body need? Well, it really depends on a lot of different factors, how much protein somebody needs. Protein deficiencies, particularly here in the United States, don't really exist. We just, we have a lot of different food sources that give us protein, and so deficiencies don't really exist. But nonetheless, whatever protein we are going to eat, we want to make sure that it's good quality, and we want to try and get our protein from food sources that perhaps don't have a lot of cholesterol, don't have a lot of fat. And so the food sources that we've always been familiar with include things like meat, chicken, fish, and then the products, right, that come from these. So like, for example, eggs and cheese. And those actually, all of them contain the essential amino acids that we talked about earlier. We mentioned how some amino acids are already produced in the body, but then there are those that the body does not produce, and those are called essential. And so we can actually get all of the essential amino acids from these foods, which are the animal foods, right? The problem is that we have people that are vegetarians, that are vegans, and so they cannot obtain the essential amino acids from these foods that we mentioned. And so there are also other sources of amino acids that we can turn to, right, that we can use for us to be able to get the amino acids that we need, particularly if we don't consume animal products, or say we're cutting back on animal products. So if we are vegetarians, vegans, or just really don't like to eat a lot of meat or anything really that comes from animals, then food sources that we can turn to for amino acids include things like nuts and seeds and beans and whole grains, okay? For example, quinoa is a really good source of amino acids, and it's actually, even though it's a seed, it actually is one of those that does have all 9 essential amino acids, so that would be a really, really good food source. And then with the beans, well, we're getting that today in our salad, right, with our kidney beans over here. So we are going to be getting some protein there as well. So it doesn't necessarily have to be us eating things like meat or cheese or eggs or anything like that. It's just about making sure that we find the food sources that can give us the amino acids that we need. Now, the other vegetable here that I'm chopping is my celery. And this is another really good food to add to your daily diet. It has a lot of fiber, and it also helps the body with balancing the potassium levels. So people that might have issues with their kidneys, this would be a good food to add to their diet. Okay, so I'm just going to finish chopping this here. So it's actually 2 stalks of celery, not just one. But again, you can add the vegetables, you can add as much or as little as you want, okay? All right, so there is my celery. And then the other vegetable that I am going to add to my salad is my corn, okay? Now corn, just like celery, it also has fiber, so it helps us a lot with our digestive processes. It can also help us with different health issues such as diabetes. It can help us also with heart disease, and foods that are that provide fiber, they also help us with our gut bacteria, right? And so our gut bacteria, it's important that we maintain it, that we help it grow, because it helps us improve our health. Okay, and so what these foods do is they're actually able to ferment. And then when they ferment, they can feed our healthy bacteria. Okay, so I'm gonna add the corn to my salad. And then the last thing I'm going to do is to add the juice of 1 lime before I add my beans, right? Because we still have to add our beans. Let's see how simple this salad was to make. You just have to put everything together. It's a really fresh salad, so right now that the weather is starting to change and it's just getting kind of warm, summer's really getting here, it's a perfect food, right? It's quite ideal. So going back to how much protein the body needs, I was mentioning that it depends on a lot of different factors. So some of those factors are going to be whether someone is male or female, the age, the activity level, and then the muscle mass as well, okay? When we look at the labels, the food labels, and it tells us, for example, this one here, it says that it has 8 grams of protein. You're gonna notice that it doesn't give you a percentage for daily value. And that's because, again, everybody has a different need that is based on the different factors that we mentioned. Generally speaking, the recommendation is going to be 56 grams of protein for sedentary men and 46 grams of protein for sedentary women. But we have a lot of people, right, that for example, they exercise, they're always active, moving around, not very sedentary. And so in that case, the person would need more than that. But that's just a general recommendation, again, for sedentary individuals for their protein needs, okay? Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and add my beans. And then I'm just gonna add a little bit of salt just for flavor. Really, it doesn't need a lot, even though you'll notice we really didn't add anything that had salt. But even so, it doesn't need a lot. The flavors just, they combine pretty well, and it just gets a really good overall flavor, okay? We have our salad now, and it's packed with nutrients. We have the vitamins and minerals from all of the vegetables that we added. We have lots of antioxidants. We have protein, right, from the beans. So this is just a salad that is not only delicious, but it really is packed with a lot of nutrients. Okay, so now I'm just mixing all of my ingredients together. Okay, and then that is basically it. This salad is ready to be served. It's that simple. So let me go ahead and grab a plate so I can show you what our salad looks like. So here's the plate. I'll show you the salad. It's colorful, it's delicious, lots of different flavors, really good salad. I know you're gonna love it. Okay, so there's the salad. I'll show you a little bit more. There it is. Okay. So this can be eaten as a side dish, or it can also be a main course. So that is the recipe that I have for you today. Let's go ahead and review what we talked about. So we went ahead and started making our Three Sister salad. Three Sister salad included zucchini, corn, and beans, which is where the name Three Sister comes from. We talked about protein, what it is, what it does in the body, the different functions, where it comes from, what helps to create protein. We talked about the amino acids. We mentioned also different foods that contain protein that can give our body those 9 essential amino acids. And then we also talked about the different needs, right? So for men, what is the recommendation? For women, what is the recommendation? But then we mentioned how people, if they are physically active, trying to build muscle, just maybe even need a lot of energy, right? Then their protein needs are going to be a little bit higher than the recommendation that I provided, which was for sedentary men and women. We then went ahead and put our salad together, bringing together all of the different vegetables and the beans, and here is our end result. So I hope that you enjoyed this presentation, and I hope that you find the information on protein helpful for you and your family. Thank you so much for joining me. We look forward to seeing you virtually again next week and at one of our resource centers as soon as we can. Until then, stay active, healthy, and informed.